Good evening. Thank you for your patience. My name is Tim Kawakami. I am the current community-oriented leadership policing. I get confused. I belong to so many things. We want to thank you for participating this evening. We've given up our regular meeting to have this community forum, and at this time I'd like to introduce our Chief of Police, J.D. Younger.
Thank you, and thank you, Tim. Tim is our chairman of our Community-Oriented Policing Leadership Council. For those unfamiliar with that group, there's been some advertisement that it's a citizens group, and that's true. It is staffed with citizens, but it's 11 citizens appointed by the mayor and council, and it's by ordinance, and it's been in place for 22 years. And the reason I like to bring that up is if you read much about police community relations nowadays, a pretty hot topic is, well, communities should have advisory boards. Communities should have representatives of citizens helping the police department determine strategy and goals. And we think that's such a great idea that we did it 22 years ago. And it's been in place ever since. They do meet monthly. It's open to the public meetings. So if you have an interest in these type of topics, they discuss them regularly. And you can find their meeting schedule on our website. And if you can't locate it there, you can call us and we'll tell you. They're typically at the Public Safety Center, which is a beautiful building that y'all funded, that we opened in November of 2015. If you haven't seen it, that's another great addition to our community that you ought to come take a look at. Before we get going on the topic tonight, I would like to recognize the other current members of our Community-Oriented Policing Leadership Council. If you'd please stand or wave or so people can see you. In the community that we live in, it's not infrequent that I get thanked for my service, and I always appreciate that. But I kind of grin a little bit too, because I want to tell them, you know, you're paying me. You're not paying these people, and they're showing up every month, and they're committing their time, hours at a block, to help us identify your expectations and making sure the service we're delivering is in line with the service you're expecting. So I really do appreciate you in this council. Now, as far as tonight's presentation, hopefully y'all got to read the press releases, but I'll repeat it for you. The goal of tonight is not to debate the pros and cons of legislative decisions. The goal tonight is simply to increase situational awareness in our community. People ask me all the time, you know, how does Edmond get this kind of engagement? Or how come Edmond has this kind of success in their crime prevention efforts? And I say, well, Edmond's different in a good way. And the Edmond different is here tonight. That we are trying to be proactive in presenting information, but that only helps if the community shows up. And you have. And so I think this is Edmond different. And it's us talking about what's coming and setting expectations so you as engaged citizens know, hey, if I need to call the police, this is what I can expect. And it's us as the police department to know, hey, these are the citizens' concerns, so we need to give attention here, or we need to adjust protocol there. So really what should come out of tonight's meeting is you having a better understanding of what's going to be allowed or not allowed, effective November the 1st of this year, and for us to have a better understanding of what kind of calls we might be getting in reference to those changes. Our primary presenter tonight is going to be Lieutenant Jeff Richardson. He's been with our police department for 22 years. He is not a mercenary, he's homegrown Edmond. So we really appreciate that. In addition to his 22 years of total service, Jeff has been our training director for 11 years. The Edmond Police Department is fortunate that we have our own police academy and in-service curriculum. That was created by Jeff. And so he's a Renaissance man. Not to get too deep into his resume, but he's got graduate degrees. He's got black belts in martial arts. He loves Shakespeare and Bruce Lee. So But we're going to bring Jeff up. He's going to try to hit on a couple of topics. If you have questions, I don't want to tell you to wait to the end. I'm going to defer to you to figure out whether it's something we should talk about right then. But it would probably be conducive if you would kind of wait until he gets the majority of his presentation done, and then we will gladly take all questions. Just as a reminder, if it's hey, do you think we ought to do this, or hey, how can we stop this? We're probably going to direct you back to let's just talk about what is and not what we think we should do. So with that, I will turn it over to Lieutenant Jeff Richardson.
Hello, everybody. Everybody good to hear? They said I had to hold it really close. So I have the pleasure of being the director of training for the police department. So that gives me a unique perspective for a lot of the way police officers learn about the events that like we're going to talk about tonight. So I think it's important for me to make sure everybody knows I'm not an attorney, and I don't plan to be an attorney, right? So unless they hand those out, but I don't think they do. So as we get to the, people starting to ask questions or whatever, my focus tonight is to inform this is where the law is, right? So the things we're going to be talking about have been enacted. They will become official on November 1st of this year. So that was our goal here, is to really wanted to get the message out, make sure everybody understands, because there's, for most of us, there's not any big changes, right? So one of the big changes is, of course, the constitutional carry, which we'll discuss, but the weapons that are carried, a lot of that is already the law. There's a couple of changes coming for that too, but so it's already, we live in it. It's in our society. We're in so far we are where we are, right? So I just wanted to make sure that we all understand that as we're discussing, or as I'm kind of educating you on these things, write down your points, your questions to discuss, and if it gets outside of my scope, for sure, then I'll see if I can't call in some help for us. Every good police report discusses who, what, when, where, why, and how. And so that's kind of what I figured we'd do here, right? So I wanted to talk about who can carry the weapons. Nothing has changed as far as what allows a person to carry. They have to be 21 years of age or older, can't be adjudicated through mental health courts, or can't be a felon, certain other preclusionary crimes, like domestic assaults and things like that. But all of those are through conviction and that kind of stuff. So that's all through the court system. It's not necessarily determined by police officers out in the field. So current law it's still sometimes called concealed carry. Several years back, it went to open carry. So if you have your license, you can choose to carry your weapon concealed or open carry. Police officers carry in the open, right? So I think it's important to know where we're at now to know where we're headed November 1st. So you would apply for the license. I'm sure there's many of you in the room that probably have your license. And so once the new law for open carry hit, you could just make your choice. You didn't have to declare it by any means or whatever, right? November 1st, the requirement to get the license is one of the big things, one of the, in my opinion, two big things that are changing, right? And so constitutional carry is based upon the Second Amendment and the interpretation of that where the right to bear arms, and so no longer in the state of Oklahoma will you be required to have the license. A person 21 years of age or older as of November 1st of this year can choose to carry a firearm, concealed or open. And so that, without a license, without anything, just being a resident inside the state of Oklahoma, or even a traveler. But for 2018, one of the new rules that we're living under right now is under 21, over 18 to 21, if you're in active duty military service, you can automatically use your military ID for the same thing as a concealed carry. So for right now, any people that fits into can do, and then come November 1st, it still applies. So they don't even have to apply for licensure or anything. It's automatic with military service. So that's kind of the who. The exclusionary items are, it's not a real long list of things, but it's kind of, it's a list that's, it's not adjudicated through the police, right? So we aren't the ones that decide whether or not mental health or this crime, or domestic or whatever those things are, we're not the ones that decide that. And so that's always been decided through the licensing side of the house. And now as we go forward, I'm sure it'll be, we'll work through it as however. I can tell you in my 22 years as being an officer, it's extremely rare that we ever run into anybody with a license that's causing us a problem. So, and there's usually other issues that we're having to deal with on top of that anyway. So, the WHO, 21 years of age or older, and 18 to 21 if you have if you're active duty military. What you can carry. This is the other kind of big change coming. Depending, right? So right now, current law allows a person to openly carry a short-barreled rifle-style weapon, right? So, if you see somebody walking down the street or in public areas and they have a long gun on, we, the police, recognize that is a lawful action on their part. And so that's kind of a new thing that's come on, and that's one of the big visual things that, kind of like when open carry started. When open carry started, people were wearing guns out on their hips, and sometimes that caused some consternation for some folks, and they would call us. It's okay, we can go out, we may or may not even talk to that person depending on what's going on. But come November 1st, one of the big changes is the barrel length of the weapon can now increase to 16 inches. So a 16-inch rifle can be carried openly by a constitutional carry, via constitutional carry without a license. So that's, to us, one of the big changes. It's a visual thing. As far as a big change for us, we're not stressed about it, but we just wanted, that's one of the things that we want to make sure everybody's aware of, that it is allowed by the law come November 1 of this year. And long guns, long being a relative term to 16 inches, it's already currently allowed by the current carry laws. So there's some caliber, the only caliber restriction is it can't be larger than a .45 caliber, and that already exists. So rifle calibers are allowed within that. So it's 45 is the diameter of the bullet, so not to get into too much bullet nerd stuff, I guess, but it's just all about diameter and size of the round. All of that is already currently in law. So I've already discussed the two, in our view, the two big issues, right? The two big, the new things come in. So barrel length of the weapons and the fact that a person does not have to have an actual license on their person. While we're on the license, a lot of people are asking, what about the concealed carry? Still valid. It's still a viable option for people to go and get, because that helps with reciprocity throughout the other states in the country, wherever, if you're traveling or whatever and you want to stay armed that way. So that's totally up to you, the individual, whether the concealed carry is still important to you. I say concealed carry, that carry the SDA license, which allows you to carry open or concealed. So you can choose the path you want to go come November 1st. You can stay on both. It's however you'd like to do it there. An important thing for conditions of carry, how you can carry the what, right? So the what is you can carry a pistol, a rifle, a shotgun, no more than 16-inch barrel. Overall length, there's an overall maximum length on them, 24 inches, is that right? No? Oh, okay, sorry, thanks. So on the barrel length, it's 24, barrel length is 16 inches on the maximum length of the weapon. So the only conditions to that are the way you can carry it. So pistols need to be in a holster, all weapons need a holster, scabbard, case, or on a sling. And so that's that's really the only restrictions, which I say only, that's a pretty good one. A pistol should be, worn in a holster or on a sling or those kinds of items for safety's sake. So those have currently in the law, right? That's already there. And so that just is continuing forward with us through November 1st. So I just wanted to make sure that it was important to note, I think, the conditions of how you carry those weapons. Sometimes the where things can, weapons can be carried is one of the things that people get some concern about. You cannot automatically, right now, the law is this, and it carries forward to November 1st. None of it changes. But right now, you can't take it into any place that says no weapons allowed, right? You can't take it into a government building. You can't take it into a school. You can't take it onto school property, other than parking lots. We'll cover those here in just a minute, right? But you can't take it onto a university. You cannot take it into certain sporting events. So all of that already exists. So if I sound like a broken record, I encourage you to read up on it and know it for yourself instead of what somebody else might tell you, because you're the one responsible for it if you choose to carry. But a lot of buildings, you guys, if you are an avid carrier or have paid attention, there's already signs up about, if weapons aren't allowed inside of a building, or if they are, whatever. So it already exists, and it's going forward with us to November 1st. So where you can carry is important to know. You can in parks, you can in parking lots, so back to schools. One of the big changes that came was the way we think about it is the weapon can go with you into the parking lot of the school. It cannot come out of the car with you. So if you're going to pick your kid up from school or something like that, it has to stay in a parking lot. Already exists in the law. So parking lots by the law can't be regulated, and it just kind of makes sense, because if we don't want you to bring a gun into our government building, we have to provide you a place to park your vehicle and to be able to leave such a thing, right? So once again, as a 22-year police officer, I haven't seen or really heard of any major issues of that. People forget, and we just come in and say, hey, don't and a gentle reminder, and it's always been a positive contact for us. So the where can get, there's a lot to it, but none of it is changing going forward. It's been that way for a long time, the places that a person can or cannot carry. So that's good, but none of that's changing, is in the sense that you don't have to learn something new. But if you decide starting November 1st, I do think I want to carry, you really have to educate yourself on that kind of stuff. Carrying a weapon in a vehicle. You can carry a pistol loaded inside of a car as of November 1st without a license, right? But long guns, rifles, shotguns, all that can be chamber loaded, but not, or sorry, magazine loaded, but not chamber loaded. It cannot be chamber loaded. So that's a bit of a change, depending. I mean, licensees could already do that. Now November 1st, we all can. So it's just something to keep in mind. If you decide you're going to carry your rifle or shotgun, make sure you download the chamber on those things before you head out. As far as constitutional carry, November 1st, the sky is not falling, right? So the concealed carry was here, open carry has come, and now we're headed into a new phase of licensure. That's how a lot of us look at it. Is it's a licensing thing as opposed to a weapon, the weapon law. It's all contained inside of it, but the way we've reasoned that is the law isn't changing very much, right? Other than the 16-inch barrel and whether or not there's a license. And I know there's probably a lot of questions and concerns or whatever about the licensing side of it, but the important thing to remember is it is the law, and so I'm just here to inform you that the law is changing November 1st. And so we wanted to make sure that we presented the information and make sure everyone understands here in our community that you might see people, you will see people with long guns that you're not used to seeing, or more open carry options than you may have seen in the past, and it's legal, most likely. Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at. It's a fairly simple change that can kind of have some ripples to it. I do understand that, but as far as the law is as written, if you know it today, there's not much to learn about November 1st. It's just a couple of changes. Yes, sir.
Does this include AK-47?
On AK-47s, as long as it's caliber. It's all caliber based, right? So semi-automatic, 45 caliber and under, and that's so yes, a 7.62 is below a 45 caliber. I'm going to let the people with the microphones pick who goes.
If one has a medical marijuana card, can one carry?
I would tell you to contact your attorney about it. I know it sounds like a cop-out, pun intended, I guess, but yeah, you're going to have to talk to your attorney about that. The current law doesn't allow you to drink while having it. So if you're under the effects of, I can tell you unequivocally no. But as far as how the medical side of it goes, I don't know.
Under the old law, proximity to a police officer, you had to inform them what you were carrying. Is that still in effect if you don't have a license?
No, excellent. You'd think a cop would have remembered to tell you that one. No. Yeah, I should have wrote that on my hand. I don't know. That's no. So the new law, November 1st, no longer requires. So to answer the question with a statement, current law requires you to tell a police officer that you are armed. After November 1st, you are required to answer if we ask. So police officers, that might end up being kind of a change. Good evening, I've stopped you for whatever. Are you carrying a firearm? Right? So you'll start getting that question, and the law requires that you do answer. Great question, thank you.
I have a couple of handguns registered in my name. My wife does not. Can she carry one of my guns?
Yes, registration is not a part of the law. Registration of the weapons is not part of the law.
I was wondering if your family members from out of state, if they have constitutional carry there, what happens to them here if they're packing?
Yep, so the state of Oklahoma does recognize all other states with carry laws, and then as of November 1st, any person coming into the state of Oklahoma has the ability to carry openly, just as until they hit the border.
If someone is carrying a weapon and asked to leave premises by the owner of the premises or the person in control of the premises, discuss the obligation of the person carrying.
Yeah, great question. So business owners' rights also have not changed, right? So November 1st, business owner rights are the same as they are today. And the business owner can request that you leave the business. And so you need to leave, right? So because when they call us, we're gonna come in and we're gonna be like, hey, you need to leave, right? So we're not coming in just to drag people to jail. But if the business owner, it's well within their rights by the law to ask you to leave, it's time to go. And enforcement action, if you say, nope, I want to stay here, then criminal action can be taken. So we turn a civil issue into a criminal issue, and then we will have to, trespass you or whatever. So while we're at it, what I teach police officers all the time is cooler heads are going to prevail all the time, right? So where there's weapons involved, tempers involved, whatever it is, everybody just calm down, take a breath, we're okay, right? And so when it comes to trespassing or, hey, I don't want you here on my property, it's okay, right? And when I say it's okay, we'll get there, right? The police are coming. If you've called us, if you haven't called us, then then people will leave. So I'm not saying you have to, because somebody's on your place and they have a gun, that you have to let them. That'd be a whole different thing. But anyway, where am I at? Yeah. Yep.
It's hard to hear a little bit back here, but I wanted to ask you, what do I do if I see somebody with a gun in a restaurant or someplace that it doesn't have a sign that says no guns? How do I know that person's a good person, and what should I do?
Yeah. So there's, if you see a person who's armed inside of a place that, by your example, doesn't have the markings of no weapons allowed, there's no criminal activity going on. We're the police. We're happy to come out, but when we come out, we're going to come in and we're going to say, yes, this person has a gun. They're in the restaurant. They're fine. So, kind of part B, how do we know they're a good person? I don't know. Right? Well, yeah. Yes, sir.
Would you repeat the law concerning weapons in vehicles on campuses?
Yep. Weapons in vehicles on campuses are allowed. Same, when I said school, I should have clarified, we're talking public, private education facilities and universities. So a person can take their weapon onto a campus. They must leave it in the car, right? So they cannot get out of their vehicle with the weapon and take it through campus with them. Did I get it? Yep. Sorry, back with you.
Yes, sir. Going back to if you get pulled over by an officer, normally if he asks for your license, you have to show it to him. If he asks if you are carrying, do you have to present him with your weapon?
And I'm going to speak for Edmond police officers. Do not present us with the weapon, but you do. And there may be somebody that's upset about what I said, but yeah, you leave it where it's at. But you are compelled to tell us. So once I ask you after November 1st, once I ask you, hey, are you carrying a weapon? If affirmative, then yes, you have to tell us that you are carrying.
Okay, but we don't have to produce it, hand it over to you, or?
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't. While we're on that, the law also hasn't changed about law enforcement's when we can or cannot take the weapon for inspection. We cannot take it for inspection, but when we can or cannot take it from you under criminal activity. So none of that has changed. Thank you. Yes, sir.
So on the barrel length, it's 16-inch max, or starts at 16-inch for non-rifle?
16-inch maximum. Is that me? 16-inch maximum on the barrel length of the weapons. Sir. Yeah, please do. Yeah, Don, thanks.
My name's Don Spencer. On the barrel length that he's referring to, the magic number of 16, if it's under 16 inches, it is a pistol. If it is over 16 inches by law, it is considered a rifle. A shotgun barrel is required to have 18 inches of barrel to be legal, and these are under federal laws. We're referring to federal laws, and the state just adopts the federal law on that. So what's the difference between a rifle and a pistol? Well, basically, a stock. A rifle has a stock, a pistol does not. And so that's the difference on that. I hope that answers. I didn't
Thanks.
see the
Yeah.
question, so anyway.
Yeah, sorry, I've been referring to pistols. My fault. Yeah, rifle lengths. Yeah, no, great question. Thank you for clarifying. Oh, Emily, back in the back.
I just wanted you to clarify in terms of, I know in the past you could have your magazine, you had to have your magazine away from your weapon. You stated you can't have it inside the weapon, but it's not chambered correct?
So November 1st, pistols can be transported loaded and magazine and chamber loaded all the time. Rifles, shotguns, long guns, however, cannot be chamber loaded. They can be magazine loaded but not chamber loaded.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yep.
Well, he answered my question, or you did, but I have 2 comments. You keep saying weapons. I've been a firearms instructor, I still am. They are not weapons to firearms. It's only a weapon if it's used that way.
Okay.
Semantics, I
Sure.
know, but I
Sounds
think
good
it's
to me.
really important for people who don't understand the difference.
Right.
The other thing is that AK-47 is a fully automatic weapon, and they're only available with a special license. So you're not going to.
There are
typically an AK-47.
There are semi-automatic versions.
Semi-automatic.
That's why I wanted. Right. That's why I clarified it semi-auto, but it's the caliber is what the restriction is. Yes. Yeah. Can I get you to pause 1 second? We'll get your microphone.
Prior to open carry, a person who was carrying concealed was at risk of being charged with brandishing or flashing a weapon if their weapon became visible inadvertently. And open carry eliminated that risk. A similar situation seems to arise now when you're going into a educational building and you step out of your car, remove your weapon to place it in a container inside the car, and it becomes visible while you're standing there next to your car, placing it in a box, locking it, and so forth. Is that a risk? Is that not a risk? What is the situation there?
I'm going to reiterate, I'm not an attorney. Police, yeah, Don. Passing the buck again.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And by the way, I was instrumental on writing the constitutional carry bill, so that's why I'm very fluid with what's going on here. Your question specifically, in 2012, when open carry came into effect, and in 2013, we wrote the bill to make sure that people could leave a gun in their car while at a public or private school. Only on an elementary or secondary school, it's required to be kept out of sight. And we had to put that in there to make sure we could get it passed. So if you go up to this kid's spelling bee or football game or whatever, if you leave your gun in the car, don't get out of the car and then take it off and put it back in the car. Don't do that. Stow it immediately out of sight in the car before you exit the car, and you're perfectly legal under the new law. Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Hello.
Hi. You've been waiting for a minute. Sorry.
So I have personally been in a behavioral institution. How long would you say it would be okay to actually open carry it? I've been diagnosed for depression.
Right. Yeah. Adjudication is the word, right? So you'd have to be adjudicated by the court through that. So only you know that. I'm not asking at all, but adjudication is the word, right, in the law. And so adjudicated, which that's different, not found guilty like felonies would be, but the court, a judge has ruled on that. That's where all that lives.
So I would have to go through approval process?
If you've never been adjudicated by a judge, then by November 1st, you're good. But if you have, then honestly, I don't know what the process is for that. That an attorney would be able to help you with what the process would be for that. I'm with you.
First off, thank you very much for being so patient. I work in a facility with a really vulnerable population. I work with domestic violence victims and their kids at the only shelter in Oklahoma County, so we have Edmond residents. And we are having a lot of discussions about what happens if somebody brings a weapon onto our property even though it's posted. Because the response is going to be treated as somebody that's trespassing. Can you tell me, do you plan on having organizations that treat sensitive populations have an ability to maybe apply to the Edmond Police Department to say, hey, could you speed up the response? Because cooler heads are not an option you know, where we're at. So what could we do to be more proactive to give law enforcement, you know, the okay, or at least to know what's going on, because having our receptionist stand there and try to have a cooler head in that situation is not going to be an option when somebody has a gun.
Totally agree. And to that end, yes, I think information for us, that's where we live, right, is police. So absolutely letting us know, because these places are a lot of times in plain sight, right? So letting us know that, and we can talk after or whatever, and yeah, once we know addresses and phone numbers, we know that a response would be different. I was talking to a gentleman today about the difference in responses between a man with a gun and an armed person, right? And so they sound very much the same, but in our world, they're worlds apart. And so it's how we receive the information in a lot of times is critical. So like back in the back, the question of, hey, I see a person at a restaurant and they have a gun. Our dispatchers are taking in that information, and they are hopefully calming the situation too within them and outwardly. But yeah, when somebody walks into a facility like that with a weapon, it's a totally different level of blood pressure than it is at Hafer Park. Great question.
How many states actually have constitutional carry? And as that has gone into place in these other states, have there been any rashes of incidents or any added problems for law enforcement or for anybody else as a result of the constitutional carry laws?
There's 16 total states with constitutional carry. There's no like one clearinghouse of information about what you're asking. To my knowledge, there is no wide swath of problems with it. I'm sure there's plenty of isolated, incidents throughout the history of those 16 states, but to my knowledge, there is nothing big. Yes, sir.
Just wondering, is there any limit on how much ammo you can carry or magazine capacities, anything like that?
No, sir. Not currently in the law. There's no limit to the numerical amount of rounds. Just only caliber is the only restriction.
Yes, sir. One more question for you.
You got me good a minute ago, so yeah.
Is there going to be a place on the Edmond Police Department page or anything where we can get more of the specifics on what we're talking about today?
I will have to talk to the people that know how to put things on the page, but it sounds great. But I can tell you that OSBI is a great location. There's lots of private organizations. A quick Google search about Oklahoma constitutional carry will give you a lot of quality information. OSBI is a great government spot to learn about the reciprocity and the law and that kind of stuff. Yes. Yes, of course.
In regard to the people that will be able to openly carry or concealed carry under this law, is there going to be any changes from the people? As far as I can tell, it looks like the same people who are eligible to obtain a carry permit currently are the same ones are the only ones who will be allowed to carry after this law goes into effect. Is that correct?
One more time?
The same people who currently meet the legal requirements to obtain a carry permit
Yes.
under the SCA?
Yes.
Is there any difference on the people and the differences or the requirements? Are they the same as the same people? Will the same people be able to carry without a permit? Or are there other requirements that you would have to meet?
No, there are no additional requirements to go with constitutional.
So the same people who currently obtain a permit?
Yes.
The ones will just be able to carry afterwards, but the same people who are
So let me word it a different way. The people that fit into the exclusionary are the exact same going across from here to November 1st.
Same eligible people? Or
Same
eligible people?
Yes, eligibility is the same. Correct.
Just noticed we have numerous video cameras here this evening. Will you be posting this on the Edmond website so that we can refer to it with other information that some of these other folks have asked?
Yes, is the short answer. Yeah, I hadn't noticed all the cameras, but yeah. Just kidding. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was wanting to find out, you mentioned about vehicles and the weapons being extremely safe. Walking around on the streets, how does that work?
So are we referring to off the curb line in the street, or are we talking about walking around on the sidewalks of the city of Edmond? Just, I ask because it's an important distinction for us. But yeah, so if I'm on the sidewalk, a person exercising their constitutional carry rights can carry their weapons on the sidewalk whenever.
Loaded, right?
Yes, sir. Chamber loaded.
Has to be on sling or holster.
Thank you. Yes, some important distinctions: sling, holster, scabbard, a case of some kind. So it has to be attached with those things. Thank you, guys.
When we have a loaded firearm in the car and we are pulled over by you, what do you prefer us to do? Roll the windows down, handle the wheel? What's the best way to keep you guys calm?
Yeah, right. Everybody likes calm police. I get it. That's why I'm not sure why they picked me, right? I can't stop moving. But yeah, in all things, I always try, this is different but the same. Cops are just people, right? So we're just human beings just like you. We're coming to the window to try and have a conversation. Sometimes we come off robotic. I totally get it. But always leave the weapon wherever it's at, right? Because we are acutely aware when we see you moving around, up to the car. That raises our level. And then we get to the window, and now we're a little amped. So just let us know. Even after November 1st, but I'm obviously biased, right? But I still think it would be a great idea to just let us know when we get to the window, hey, I'm carrying. I'm not telling you have to, right? I'm just saying from a cop's perspective, I think it's a good idea. But if we don't ask, it's okay. I mean, we talk to people all the time. So to shorten it, I would tell you, just tell us, if you're choosing to let me know where the gun is, just tell me, hey, it's in the glove box, hey, it's on my hip, hey, it's wherever, and my response would be, just leave it right where it's at. Even if it's on your person, leave it right there.
I think it would be prudent for you to mention federal buildings and parking lot and sidewalks of federal buildings and the exclusion.
Yeah, parking, so great point. So federal buildings, government buildings are still excluded. However, the parking lots are different because those are federal property. So you're going to have to make sure before you go to see the IRS or Social Security or whoever it is that you're going to have to make sure what their rules are before you show up and you're like, what am I supposed to do with my gun? The sidewalk areas and all that kind of stuff in front, well, some would call that an easement in front of the building, but I'm sure different people see it different ways. I would tell you to make sure, caution, right? Walking around with a gun in front of a federal building, I'm not sure why, but if you choose to, that's the sidewalk is different from a parking lot, which is different from the building. So just make sure. I think I'm here.
He's going to pocket this and throw it away. You've mentioned caliber several times, and you've mentioned 45 as the biggest caliber. They're now manufacturing several handguns in 50 caliber BMGs, and there's a lot of conversion kits. I thought when I read the concealed carry, it said 50 caliber or smaller.
It is 100% 45 caliber and smaller. And I've mentioned it like this. Back, when I used to teach it was 22 to 45. It used to designate the bottom to the top, and that. But now they've cleaned it up. It's really simple, in my opinion. 45 caliber and below.
Hi. When I was growing up and I lived out in the country, we were allowed to have rifles or shotguns even in the back windows of our pickups. I've had a lot of people ask me this question. My dad was a police officer, and are we able to have them as long as they're not chained?
Yes. Yep. Really, the gentleman I was talking with today, we discussed that exact thing, how I grew up seeing the same stuff, and it was, yep. Still good, as long as it's not chamber loaded. Yes, sir.
You talk about open carry. Can we conceal carry as of November 1st?
Great question. Yes. So as of November 1st, through constitutional carry, you can choose concealed or unconcealed carry, just like you can now with a license.
My wife is really anxious to go through this situation because she drives a lot in rural areas, carrying a weapon in her glove box. And if she is stopped and the officer is asking for license and registration and it's in the glove box with the weapon, how is that going to go over?
I refer back to this question that was over here. Tell us, right? Just because I tell you I need your license and insurance first, if it's next to the gun, you're going to want to let me know that, right? Because we don't want to meet in the middle of that kind of a thing. So just let me know, right? And that's where just telling us you're already stopped on traffic, it's a lawful stop, right? And you can argue whether or not you ran the stop sign or not, but there's a different time for that. Right now, you need to tell me if there's a weapon that you're about to move near or around, because we don't want me seeing it at the same time you see it.
I hope this is a practical question that everybody else will be wondering. If I go into Walmart or McDonald's and I see somebody with a gun and I call the police, are they going to ask me whether there's a notice on the door that says no weapons? Or will you know beforehand which which places allow weapons and don't allow weapons?
Right, and we certainly don't.
I want to go out and look.
I don't blame you, right? My meal's hot, I'm going to eat, all right? But we do not know necessarily. We don't automatically know that McDonald's says no weapons, right? But we'll respond, and when it's not lights and siren like you see in the movies, right, we're going to drive up and we're just going to come in, and if we need to have a conversation with somebody, we will. But if it's not, let's just use McDonald's, if it's not McDonald's that's upset about the weapon and asking that person to leave, then we're just going to let a person stay, right? And so
that's in line with my question. The lady that was asking about in the restaurant. If you're a customer, notify the proprietor if you're offended by somebody with a firearm. Let him handle it. It's his business. If you see the person brandishing it, call 911. I mean, yell fire in a theater. I mean, you don't just call the police if you see somebody with a firearm. Notify that proprietor. Let him handle that part of it. That's his business. If he doesn't want people in there with a firearm, or if you're upset and you make that known to him, he can ask that person to leave.
correct.
Take it on your own that you call the police just because you see a gun.
Right, which happens. It doesn't happen a lot. It happens. It's okay. Police officers are blessed with the opportunity to serve, right? So we're happy to come out, and we'll do what we can. Every person, I guess I caution that if you are upset because you see a weapon in a restaurant and you see the police come in, we may not even talk to the person that has the weapon because we've already determined this is a lawful carry in a lawful situation, and we don't need to talk to them, right? So that's kind of the one of the cautionary tales I like to put out there is it may or may not affect how we respond.
What neighboring states to us have or will have constitutional carry?
Kansas, Arkansas.
So Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, Texas has open carry of a long gun, and Mexico has open carry of a firearm, and Colorado is changing all the time. So check it before you go.
Right. I think as a quick point of clarification on that, though, the only way you're able to carry outside of the state of Oklahoma is with a concealed, or with a license, I say that, unless another state recognizes our constitutional carry. The onus is 100% on you to know that information. OSBI is a great place to learn that. Yes, sir?
Jeff, in the case that there has been an adjudication, but it's been expunged, do you get your constitutional right to have a firearm back?
Yeah, not immediately, but you'd have to go through the legal system. Even with the expungement, you'd have to go through that. So, yeah, once again, I guess I would defer you to an attorney who can help you with that.
Yes, I know we're talking about firearms here, but what about knives? Because, you know, as a kid, I always carried a knife, and I always like to carry a knife, but, you know, that knife.
Yeah, knives are not even covered in the Self-Defense Act. So, I'm being corrected. 1 second.
I'm sorry, there's just a few limited places you cannot carry a knife. A public school can set, or private schools can set its own policy for a knife. A university cannot. A private business can, because it comes under a weapon or a knife. So just like this building here tonight, even if they put no knives, stickers up all over the place, you could carry a knife into this building. Don't even think about carrying one into a jail, a prison, or they're going to get to stay for a while and they're going to take your picture. So there are some stuff. A courthouse, you will not be able to carry into a courthouse. Just a very few limited spots, but for the most part, if you're not going through a metal detector, you don't have to worry about it.
Gel photography is not good. Yes, sir.
I was just going to add on to what he was saying. I deliver every day. I carry a pocket knife. Yeah, federal buildings, if you're going through I've only had one time where they let me go through, but they said, I told them I had, but I was also told, if you want to keep the knife, go back out to the parking lot. They did let me go, you know, I do have it, but
It's like TSA. That TSA has buckets full of knives.
By going back to the same places, you have to just go take it in.
Yeah.
Also, you empty your pockets of all the extra stuff.
Right.
That you won't have to put in that little
Right.
tub.
Yep.
Okay, first off, would you clarify, I didn't catch this. Can someone carry a gun in the sidewalk in front of my house? First question. The second question is, how does this law affect background checks?
First part of the question, yes. The sidewalk is public, right? So I can walk in that area. The second part of your question, how does it affect background checks for purchase of a firearm? Or it unaffects it, right? They're separate things. So the purchase of the firearm is actually ATF, regulation, and so that's whether or not you can qualify for the firearm is a totally separate thing from us.
If you want to carry a weapon from your front door to your car, and then when you come back from your car back to your front door, and you live in an apartment community, can they put a sign on the door that says no weapons? And if they do, how will that affect you?
So, yeah, I'm going to defer to Don on this one. We had a discussion lengthy.
Well, I'll have to look on a 30-page bill. I'll look it up real quick. I'll just tell you, 1289.6, paragraph 6 of the state law specifically states that a person can carry from their car to their residence and from their residence to their car. The firearm must be unloaded, and there's nothing the property owner can do about it, because you have the right to defend yourself inside your home and also inside your car, and we made sure that that protection was in there just because of exactly what you just asked in apartment complex type of thing. But again, it has to be unloaded to go from point A to point B and back and forth.
And that's why he's super helpful. He knows the numbers even, so. Whoever's got the mic.
I have two questions.
All right.
First one, can you clarify for the audience about the legal carry in a place that lawful consumption of alcohol? Is that including bars, liquor stores, or is it not including liquor stores?
Yep, the law is the same. So you cannot carry where places where alcohol is consumed, meaning like it's the primary. So liquor stores, no. Gambling, whatever. Yeah, where alcohol is the primary function, you cannot carry it inside, even if you're not drinking.
The second question is say a bank or a federal credit union that's backed by FDIC, is that still considered to be a private business, or is that still considered to be a federal business?
Yeah, it's still private. Backed by FDIC is a different thing, but if they have the signage, abide by the signage.
In regard to determining whether or not a place of business, the primary source of income is the sale and consumption of alcohol, how do you determine that? There are places that do sell alcohol. For example, there's the public house in Edmond. They allow minors in there. So this kind of falls under a bar at the same time too, if they're allowing minors in there, and it's illegal to have minors in a bar. How do you determine what's what?
I would tell you if they're allowing minors in the establishment that they cannot be a bar. So that kind of fixes it. There may be parts where you can't take your minors past this roped area, that kind of a thing. Obviously, that would be the line in the sand, for lack of better terms. Ready for me?
I've been asked if I have a husband that has a felony, but yet there's constitutional carry. Can the wife carry? I mean, I've heard that, for the marijuana.
Yeah, let me get this. I don't want you to, I don't know where the question came from. I
Left.
didn't see. Okay. Ma'am, if you have any person living in your home or residence that has a felony, you cannot have firearms in your home. It's just that cut and dry. You cannot do it. So any other peripheral issue, marijuana card, it doesn't matter. If there's a felon who is a resident of your home, you're both in trouble, okay?
For those keeping score, I was gonna say that. Thanks. One more question I'm hearing.
That includes a car.
Yeah, also that applies to a vehicle also. So you cannot be driving in a vehicle armed with a felon in the car. Okay, last question.
What Edmond website can we go to refer, all these questions and answers that you come up with, and the video will be on the same website?
The person you're handing the microphone to can help us with that.
Yes, it'll be on the EdmondPD.com.
EdmondPD.com.
Yes.
Awesome. It's been my pleasure to talk to you guys. I'm sure there's tons of questions. There's lots of resources out there. Let me tell you, as my parting gift is go get a copy of the law and read it. And even if you read today's, right? If you read today's law, it'll carry you most of the way to November 1st because there's very few changes, right? So the best way to arm yourself with the knowledge is by reading the law and knowing it, because November 1st, you don't have to take a class. You don't have to submit information to get a license. You can begin carrying. Nothing changed your responsibility by carrying a firearm. So you have to make sure that you know the law. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can pick these up at the OSBI, which is the current Self-Defense Act. Finding the November 1st changes, by November 2nd, it'll be everywhere. But it's a little tougher to find right now because it's all still legal acts and stuff. Thank you guys very much. It's been my pleasure to be here. Thanks, boss.
Again, we appreciate your patience sticking around when we got started a little bit late with some technical issues. I want to extend my appreciation to Lieutenant Jeff Richardson. He talks for a living. He's a training director. He trains people, and no matter how much you do that, to stand up in front of a group of over 200 of your fellow citizens and take questions on a topic that I don't think it's controversial, but there's definitely people that have opinions about it. So to be able to do that in a professional way that he did, and answer questions, and show some vulnerability, I really appreciate him, and I think he's a great representative of our department. One person I should have recognized when we got started and we were pointing out the COPLC members is the Edmond Police Department's liaison to that group is Major Teresa Pfeiffer. And she's down here in front. She does an excellent job networking between that group and our department and making sure that we kind of understand each other and we're going in the right direction. And she was kind of the guiding light on working with COPLC to get this concept into fruition as far as a community meeting, and judging by the success of it, I think we'll have others in the future. So I want to recognize Teresa. And with that, I'll just extend my appreciation to the crowd. I started off by saying I think we're Edmond different in a positive way. I think the way we conducted this meeting is proof of that. That we can get together, we can talk through issues, we can get a situational awareness that doesn't compromise our integrity on our position. We can hold that, but we leave here knowing more about what's going to go on. And like Jeff said, I love that he preaches day in and day out. Calm heads prevail. And if we need to step it up, we do. But given the opportunity for distance and time and discussion, we'll take it every day. So I appreciate you showing that for our community, and I'll hand the mic over to our chairman, Tim.
Thank you for attending. Drive home safe. Sorry I screwed up my introduction earlier. But seriously, if you have any questions, I'm sure that the Edmond Police Department or whoever will be able to answer your questions at length, and we thank you for coming tonight.